now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Deezer, Stitcher, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful gentleman that was born and raised in Atlanta, now living in New York. He's a president and CEO of Paragon Multimedia, and he's done a lot of things like the Newlyweds play. He's worked for Adati Films for about 10 years, and he's got a brand new series out, which is part urban, sci-fi, dance, and entertainment, a very unique combination, never done before, and it's called Half-Past Jumptime. It's a web series, and he'll tell you more about it. And there's a lot of time travel, too. It's been a very fascinating subject, and, get his thoughts on it and everyone's thoughts on it, too. And live, ladies and gentlemen, jumping ahead of time to a very wonderful gentleman, live from beautiful New York, ladies and gentlemen, the Time Master, Terrence Patterson. Terrence, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you very much. Time Master, I've never been introduced as that before, but I'll take it. I'll take the Time Master. I appreciate it.
and there's always time. I have to say that. So
exactly. It affects everything. Time affects everything.
That's a good point, too. So you're president CEO of Paragon Multimedia, and you've got the series called Half-Past Jumptime. It's a web series. You worked for Adati Films for about 10 years. You also have done the Newlyweds play. And before we get into all that, with some of your history, including graduating from Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, getting a master's later on as well, too. Well, you actually get your BA in economics, moved to New York. Before we get into all that, tell us how I got started.
How I got the project got started, or how I got started in the business.
How you got started in the business? Then we'll talk.
Okay. I moved to New York. Partly, I was going to give myself a year. I was going to go to law school because econ major. The natural progression is either to go into finance or investment banking or to law school, because that seems to be the most practical ways to use that degree. Uh-huh. So I decided to give myself a year. So I moved to New York. I started out acting. And I wasn't so good at it. It was. I know I should have given it more time. It just didn't come natural to me. What did come natural to me was producing, being behind the scenes, just making sure all the pieces come together and the cogs in the machine are working smoothly. And that just kind of came natural. So after taking acting classes at HB Studios, having a private teacher for doing some drama, I just started to segue into doing the off-Broadway play, The Newlyweds, with a good friend of mine, Beverly Orozco Simmons. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she was actually one of the people that really started me to believe that, hey, maybe I could, make a living doing something creative as opposed to, something so, logical as you would think would be law school. So I worked with her for 10 years, and we did everything. We did plays, we did independent movies. The Newlyweds was actually penned as a screenplay, and we converted it into a off-Broadway play, just to make it more accessible to people, and also to raise funds so we could start making the movie. So I did that for about 12 years, and we were pitching the movies. And then I opened up my own company eventually, Paragon Multimedia, and the first project is Half-Past Jumptime. So
wow, that's amazing. So what influenced you to start up your company?
I guess, like a lot of content creators, you want to be able to express yourself creatively, but I think most importantly, you just feel like there are stories that need to be told that are not on the landscape, and you just feel like your story is one of those stories. So I just, started to develop it, working with some really great people with some experience in episodic television. And then I started to just write. Writing wasn't something that I did originally. I just liked to produce and executive produce. But then I said, hey, this is something that I'm really close to. The genesis of the stories are stories from my grandmother. When I used to visit her in Jacksonville, Florida. So I wanted to, once I started my own company, I wanted to have more control over the creative content. And that's when this project came, and a few other projects that I have in development. That's how Half Past Jumptime came into being.
Wow, it's amazing, too. And, of course, it's part urban, sci-fi, dance, entertainment, and everything else. And how'd you get interested in being in time travel in the first place?
You know what? Like I alluded to earlier, my grandmother, when we would go visit her, and she would tell me stories about when she was younger. And in her 20s, she met my grandfather in Harlem. And those stories kind of resonated with me. So when I started the company, I was thinking of ideas like, what could I draw from? They say, write what you know. So that's something that I said, hey, those stories, I hadn't thought about them for years, Mike. To tell you the truth, I had not thought about them for years. And they were just great stories, and they just kind of gave me great memories of my grandmother. So I started to remember some of them, not a lot of specifics because I was a child when she told me the stories, but a lot of the beats of the stories I started to remember. And that's how the story came to being. One of the time traveler herself, Harriet, is definitely modeled after my grandmother. So there's that. Yeah.
That is amazing, too. And, of course, Half Past Jumptime as well, too. You can just tell us, about the story itself and also some of the episodes and what do you have planned as well, too, like, how it all got started and, like, say, with the characters, the buildings, storylines, and everything else. You can just expand more about it.
Okay, great. Okay, so more about Half Past Jumptime. Again, as Mike stated, it is part sci-fi, Harlem Renaissance, because that's where the time traveler comes from in the 1920s, just right before the recession hits, in the 30s. So she already knows what's going to happen. So a big part of the story is for her saving her community from something that she knows is going to be tragic to a lot of communities. So it'll be symbolic of what happened to a lot of people then. And hopefully, knock wood, that we don't have a recession around the corner from us. So I really would have been a little prophetic about it. But also she visits her niece in contemporary New York, and she's a hip hop dancer, actress trying to make it in New York, just having a hard time of it, like a lot of us have been. And her grandmother has a great idea. She actually owns a speakeasy, kind of like a cotton club type atmosphere. And she is on the brink of losing it. And one of her bright ideas, and really she doesn't want to mess with anyone's timeline, but if she loses this, then, as a woman in the 20s, she didn't have a lot of options to feed herself. So she makes a hard decision to go to contemporary New York, bring her niece back and a couple of her friends to bring hip hop music and dance to the 1920s and pair that with jazz, which are two jazz and hip hop, which are two African American musical inventions, so to speak. So I wanted to utilize both of those, marry them together. Time travel was the only way to get the one to the other, so it just made sense. And again, with time travel, you got to be careful because there are laws. Even though it's fiction, there are just certain things you can't do. So I got to be cognizant of that. So.
Mm-hmm. And have you yourself studied time travel? And would you have any desire to get involved with time travel?
That's so funny. You're the first person that's asked me that. Have I studied it? Yeah, just a little bit, just enough to be able to speak to it from someone who just likes it from an outside point of view. But as far as me doing time travel, I don't know if I would go in the past or the future because one informs the other. So I don't want to go back and mess up something, even if it's to visit an old relative, because it actually may prevent me from being born and being existing. But I'm always interested in the idea of it because, again, with a lot of the stories, my stories about history, I'm going to weave history in it from an entertainment perspective. People are not going to know they're going to be learning things about the historical Harlem Renaissance. But a part of that and with the time travel, for me, I would like it. don't know if I would want to stay where I'm going. I would always want to come back because, you have your family here and you want to make sure that you keep those relationships going. But yeah, I'm a little interested in it. But, if it ever comes to in my lifetime, being able to do it, I might try it. I would just, yeah.
And do you think time travel will become reality in the future?
I think it may. I don't know if it's some kind of quantum physics kind of thing, but I think if they start with, of course, being successful with inanimate objects, I think they're going to have to start doing, organic life forms and just seeing what's going to happen. My only problem with it is once we're displaced from here and we end up somewhere else, are we going to be whole? Are we going to, are we going to be the same person that we are? Are things going to, I guess, with the human body, there's just so many things that you would have to be able to transfer from one time period to another. But, we've done some amazing things in the last 100 years, even the last 50 years. So, yeah, something like that, I think is possible, but it may be, 50, 100 years out, yeah.
And I think that's something to look forward to as well, too, and to be very interesting with all the science we have out there. And, of course, you're talking about the 20s as well, too, in terms of time travel. Could you see yourself living in the 20s, like in Harlem and the Cotton Club and, in the Roaring 20s as well, too? Could you see yourself living in that era of the 20s?
I could. What I could if it was a vehicle like my story is a time travel. I don't know if I particularly would want to live in the 1920s because there was a lot of liberties that I wouldn't be able to take advantage of. That would be obvious. However, with everybody loves the glamour of the 1920s. I don't know one person who would not want to go back, even if it's just for a day, to be able to go back and live in that time period and live amongst those people and see what their mindset really was. And that's kind of what I want to explore in the story as well, because we always hear about the luminaries, the great Gatsbys, the Harlem Renaissance luminaries. I want to really kind of focus on ordinary people living in New York during the 1920s, and hopefully that'll be symbolic to everyone across the nation once they see the story. But yeah, I definitely love that time period. Would I want to go back and visit? Absolutely, because there are a lot of great people who lived through that time period.
That's fantastic. We'll talk more about that. We'll also talk about some of your influences. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Terrence Patterson, the producer of Half Past Jumptime. It's a web series that's out right now. Also president and CEO of Paragon Multimedia. Graduated from Oglethorpe University in Atlanta in economics and moved to New York just to pursue acting as well, too. And, of course, we'll talk about some of your roots as well, too. What was that one moment that influenced you into, say, get away from Atlanta and economics and going into New York? What was that one precise moment you had?
Wow. You know what? I actually had a job in Atlanta that I didn't really like the job. It was working in a bank. It was just my personality didn't fit with the rigidness of working in a bank. So I actually called a friend of mine and said, hey, I want to move to New York. Do you have a space for me? Like everybody does who moves to New York. And like I said, I was going to give myself a year. And then if I did make it doing something that I loved, that I would go to law school, which was something I did have a lot of interest in at the time. I probably would have gone into entertainment law because it would have married both of the things that I like. But
interesting.
Yeah, that would have definitely been the backup plan. But yeah.
That is interesting. Entertainment law, I could see you something like that, too. And of course, having that economics degree, that seems to be very influential in becoming president and CEO of Paragon Multimedia. It's like, try to get the backing, try to get, settings and everything else. I mean, that would be just a daunting task or so. Yes,
it is. Just running the company itself from an independent level, you have to wear many hats, and then you hopefully that you're good at a lot of things so that you can find people to help you in the areas that you're not good at. And that's something that I did learn from, being an entrepreneur in the beginning. I wanted to, like a lot of us, we are control freaks in that way. So we wanted to make sure that our hands are in everything. And I'm learning now that in order to keep the process moving forward, you have to be able to give duties to other people and just make sure you're hiring the right people and they have the right motive in mind. So that's been my mindset since I've started. I would love to build out the company some more as we get more productions, have a good writing team that can help me with a lot of the content that I have in development, and just give some people some jobs in a great company where, we're innovative in the content that we're trying to provide. And we don't want to be like everyone else. We want to make sure that our projects stand out. And again, we like to cross genres. And we also like to probably do stories where you would think would be great for one gender. Maybe it's a male-driven, you would think the series would be, and we probably would switch it up and do something else. Only just because we want to be able to explore stories that haven't been explored before. There are no new stories, so to speak, as they say. Everything's being retold. I just want to make sure that we have a fresh take on these things, as far as the stories that we tell.
And what are some ideas of the cross genres?
We have in development a story. It's about a CIA agent who is retired. Him and his wife have adopted some kids, and they teach them some martial arts skills and some other skill sets. And they actually kind of are part of a society of people, the CIA agent, and they spy on these people, and they use information to be able to blackmail people. So that's one story that we have. It's an urban setting as well. And then we also have one that's kind of a sci-fi intergalactic spy. She crash lands in Brooklyn, and she has some amazing powers that I don't want to give away just yet because we're working on.
That sounds like Marvel.
yeah, we're working on the concept art for it now. I'm working with a great artist that I met on LinkedIn actually, so that'll be coming out as well. I'm going to try to make it an anime. That's kind of where I also want to go.
Nice. And anime. That is amazing. And what are some of your favorite cartoons growing up, since we're on the subject of anime?
Anime, I would say growing up, like I saw a lot of reruns. I was one of those kids that always liked to rerun cartoons, which would be Flintstones, the Jetsons, stuff like that. Then also, the Super Friends shows. And as far as anime, I like the Boruto, Naruto, Inuyasha, all of those kind of stories where it's always about a central character who is a good example of a person, but they also have their flaws, but everybody gravitates toward them because they're always for the common good for everybody. So I kind of want to always use that in my stories because animes are always good with that. So I always want to use that as a root of all of the stories that I tell.
That is fantastic. And who are some of your favorite actors and TV shows and movies growing up?
Movies, of course, Denzel, of course, from the Saint Elsewhere to being a movie star, of course. Meryl Streep, of course, Al Pacino, the regulars. Right now, I'm really liking Yara Shahidi. I think that's her name from Black. She's really good. I think she's gonna blow up and just be a big movie star as well.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and her co-star, Marseille Martin, she's, the youngest producer in Hollywood. I mean, one of the youngest producers in Hollywood. She's like 14, and she's on Black.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like, that's, people like that just kind of inspire me, even though I'm older than they are. Just seeing that at any age, 14 to 60, if you feel like that's something that you want to do, like this 14-year-old, Marseille Martin, she's being able to be a producer, that's incredible. To be able to lead a group of people, because I'm, well past their age, but still I get, sometimes I'm like, okay, am I making the right decision? Because everything is on you as a producer. And for her to be 14, to be able to take that responsibility on, I can't be anything but look up to her and be proud of her for doing that. And some of the other actors, Issa Rae is really good. I like her. As far as production, Jordan Peele is really good. Like, that's someone I would definitely want to work with. Ava DuVernay I would definitely want to work with. Dee Reese from a directing perspective, I definitely would like to work with her. Right now, there's a lot of good people that are doing a lot of good content. So those are the people that I look up to from a media perspective.
And of course, in terms, too, of genres and everything else, sci-fi adventures being emphasized. What are some of your favorite sci-fi shows that you've watched as a kid?
Sci-fi shows that I watched. I would say Battlestar Galactica was one of them. All of the Star Treks. I'm glad they're bringing back Picard. That's good because I think that's going to be really, really good. The movies, Alien, of course. I mean, that was really such an indelible one. Alien, the first one, was just like, it was just, even though it was, I guess you could say it was kind of horror and sci-fi, it just, that balance of it just made me really intrigued by sci-fi. And from then on, I just wanted to watch it. Another good movie that was a really good foundation for me was The Matrix.
Yes.
Just everything about it. Like, it was just groundbreaking and the story was good. And the CGI was just well beyond what had been presented before. And I want to hopefully get to that point where my show can have some good CGI. As far as that's concerned, there's things that you've never seen before. So with time travel, we can do a whole lot. As you alluded to before, it's involved in everything. So we have a great landscape to be able to use it and make some good CGI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. We're looking forward to what else you have. We'll talk about your future plans. Listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Terrence Patterson, the president and CEO of Paragon Multimedia, and also the executive producer of Half-Past Jumptime, the web series. He also graduated from Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, later moved on to New York to pursue acting, and worked for Adati Films for 10 years. And tell us about your time with Adati Films for 10 years. I don't think we've covered that yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't covered that. That kind of happened by circumstance. I was actually, when I moved to New York, I had to have a day job as well. So I actually ended up using my economics degree. I got a job as a consultant in a bank. I traveled for a little bit, but then I ended up working for a bank in Long Island. I met a good friend of mine, Beverly Roscoe Simmons. She had just graduated from NYU. And she was talking about an independent movie she was making, and I was like, in my mind, like, really, you could do this? Like, I know that you could do it, but when I grew up in Florida, and I actually went to college in Atlanta, so a lot of my time, like I said, I was going to go to law school. But when I came to New York, and I saw that she was doing this, I just started to get more involved in her company. And just from an independent level, I first started reading scripts because I had never really been behind the scenes as far as that is concerned. So the more I read scripts, the more that I saw good ones and the more that I saw bad ones. And a lot of bad ones were out there. So it actually informed me on the writing that I'm doing now that I did, maybe 10 years later, because I kind of know what's out there and the structure and what makes sense. I'm not saying I'm the best writer. I will always need to improve. But that's where I started. And then I kind of worked my way up into associate producer and then executive producer of production. So I started pitching. Actually, I wore a lot of hats. So calling investors, I was calling MBA agents. I was actually, by that time, I was working in a law firm. Ironically, I didn't go to law school, but I actually ended up working in a law firm a little bit. And
amazing.
Yeah. And then for my breaks, I would it was kind of like litigation technology. But anyway, I would run downstairs during my coffee breaks or lunch breaks, make phone calls to MBA agents pitching to try to get their athletes to give us money to pitch, for our independent movies, then run back upstairs and then do my day job and then go home. And then if we had a play that was running at the time, I would go to rehearsals, castings, go to the theater, make sure the sets are great and everything's working with that. So I always had a full day. So yeah, that's how I came into working with Aditi. And then after that, I was there for 12 years. 10 to 12 years. I got a lot of great experience there. But then I thought, I wanted to be a master of my own destiny, so to speak, I guess. And I opened up my own company and started from there. And this, from all the experience that I had from reading scripts, I just came up, like I said, with the idea for Half Past Jumptime and a few other ideas. And now we're off to the races. So we're just trying to get this first one really solid. We actually have a crowdfunding campaign now on Indiegogo. Mostly the money will be used for post-production because it's self-financed by me for most of the production part of it, the pre-production. But we're definitely going to need money for the CGI because audiences now are very smart and intuitive when it comes to CGI. You can't really fake it, even at an independent level. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting the right quality. So I really was just trying to really increase the production quality of the show. And we're in production on 3 episodes now.
That's fantastic. We'll talk more about your future as well, too. And this question came to mind. How can you tell a good script from a bad script?
If I'm not intrigued and want to turn the page. And I mean literally every page. Like I have to be able to, the story has to make sense. The world that's been created has to make sense. And like they said, it usually has to make sense within the first 10 pages. I really have to fall in love with the protagonist and really like the antagonist too, because I got to make sure that that both sides are equally fighting for equal and opposite things. So that's kind of where I go in character. For me, a lot of the story really starts with a great character. I have to want to know that person. I want to, because when we go to a movie, we're really kind of hanging out with that person for 2.5 hours, whatever it is. And I want to make sure I'm hanging out with somebody that I like. So when I'm writing a script or reading a script, I just try to make sure that I like the people that, even if they're just despicable people, there has to be something likable about them.
That is a really good point. I like that. And yes, it was a dark and stormy night to start things. Bang.
Right?
I could imagine that. And of course, you've got, besides Half Past Jumptime, what are some of the other projects you mentioned, and what do you have coming up for 2020?
The other projects I mentioned, Gemini Dark is the anime. I have a show called The Shoe Game that's going to be coming out. That's a kind of a comedy, a light comedy. That a friend of mine came up with the concept. And for the immediate future now, we are in pre-production for episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Half Past Jumptime. So they've been written, going to be going into rehearsals for dance because there's a choreography, there's dance part of it as well, and also the narrative part of it. So hopefully we'll be in production by the end of April for 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they should be hopefully edited and everything. The timeline is August, September, and then be out by October. And then I'll start writing the second season and then some of the other episodes for the other shows that I just mentioned.
And where can we see Half Past Jumptime?
Half Past Jumptime you can see on our website, halfpastjumptime.com. You can also see it on Amazon Prime. We're also on YouTube under my company's television channel, so to speak, Paragon Multimedia. TV, and we're also on Vimeo as well, and on Facebook.
That is fantastic. Once again, we're here with Terrence Patterson, President and CEO of Paragon Multimedia, Executive Producer of Half Past Jumptime. Just a couple of things. We'd love to have you back on again. Looking forward to you soon. You've been fantastic. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
My biggest influence in my career right now would be Beverly Roscoe Simmons, who I alluded to as a producer that really got me into the game. And I would say Jordan Peele, and I would say, again, Ava DuVernay, and Issa Rae. Those are some of my idols right now that I want to kind of emulate, kind of the great stories that they're telling.
That is fantastic. And I have to say, I emulate him as well, too. And who do you consider your, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
As far as storytelling or even just being an entrepreneur, because they seem to be hand in hand now with a lot of content being created now. And I know it's a cliche and people just, but keep trying and keep doing it because there's so many obstacles that's going to prevent you from just the mere fact of, from my standpoint of my 2 episodes, just getting all of those, because I have professional dancers, getting all of those people together on a specific day to shoot for specific hours is a miracle. People don't understand even at an independent level. It takes a lot. It takes a minor miracle to get all of that to happen. So having said that, any obstacles, just keep going, because right now there's no obstacles to you to create your content, even if it's too big. From a budget standpoint, just pare your story down to make sure that you keep the essence of it. But again, from a storytelling standpoint and entrepreneur, just keep going, because anything can happen, and your project can maybe go viral. If it doesn't go viral, at least you're giving good content, and you're giving your content and your voices out there in the world.
That is fantastic. Once again, Terrence, I'd like to thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Look forward to having you again soon. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people check out your episodes?
Sure. Again, you can check out episodes at www.halfpastjumptime.com. We're on YouTube as well, on the Paragon Multimedia TV. We're on Vimeo. Just put in the search bar Half Past Jump Time. And we're also on Amazon Prime. We have a Instagram account, HPJT_ the web series. And on Twitter, we're at HalfWeb, WEB. That's where you can find us. Upcoming projects, again, Gemini Dark is an anime show that we're producing right now, or in pre-production. The Shoe Game is a great show that we are going to be putting together as a comedy. And there's a couple other things, but I'll wait to tell you about those the next time I come on.
Sounds great, and looking forward to having again soon. Do us a favor, Terrence, keep this up to date. Once again, Terrence Patterson, President and CEO of Paragon Multimedia, and also producer of Half Past Jump Time. And thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. We love to have you back on, and feel free to time travel over to our place anytime you want, like any time.
I really appreciate good play on the word time, but thank you very much. I've had a great time. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.